Bettor Sports Betting is your home for picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show here on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. Appreciate you guys all joining us again today. We got Justin Fensterman here with me in place of Howard Bender. What's up, Fensty? First time co-hosting on the show with me, but it's awesome to have you, man.
Servo, it's a great time to be a sports fan, and it's even better time, pun intended, to be hanging with you here, talking about things like the NBA Finals and MLB as well, my man. Thanks for letting me share the screen with you.
Dude, of course. Yeah, we got I'm glad to have you on tonight because we have an NBA Finals Game 5, and usually we're bringing you on as a guest, but we got you on as a co-host so we can get your full hour-long thoughts on this game. But
Perfect.
we are bringing on.
I'll give you two. I'll give you two for the price of one.
Yeah, there we go. We are bringing on Ronis, your partner in crime, to also preview the game. Adam Ronis, so he'll give his picks a little bit later. We also got plenty of our own MLB bets and betting picks, player props, all that for tonight's game. Short slate, but we still got some games to break down and some picks and money to be won, right? So why not get started on that? But let's get to this NBA Finals Game 5 because, we got the Nuggets up 3-1 in the series, a chance to close it out at home. I know you got some picks, and I got a couple leans as well before we bring Ronis on to give us his thoughts. Just kind of overall picture before we get to any individual picks. What's your kind of vibes going into tonight? The Nuggets, 8.5 point favorites as of right now?
Yeah, I saw it actually go up to 9, but I'm still feeling that Denver is closing this out tonight, which would be great. And it's not only because originally I had predicted that this series would be a 5-game series, but Miami just looks about a step behind Denver. And Miami has done a good job, Servo, of keeping it close. I was telling you and Howard the other day, they're like cockroaches. They just never go away. No matter how much you try to stomp on them, they're just there. They remain. That's what this Heat team does. However, I think from an offensive standpoint, Denver's just, again, when they have their role players firing on all cylinders, and it's not just Jokic and Murray, but they have one of Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown and Michael Porter. If they have one of those three that are on, this offense just becomes too multidimensional and fascinating to stop. And I think that's the big problem that I'm seeing with Miami. And we've seen this from them in the past series that, yes, they're built for endurance. They'll still be fighting late in the game. However, at the end of the day, when their threes are not hitting, this team is powerless when it comes to their offense for the most part.
Yeah, and the one game they've only won in this series, it was when they got really hot from deep, right? It was, besides that, if they aren't hitting those, as you mentioned, it hasn't been too close. This last game, Game 4, wasn't really close at the end. It was a close game around halftime, but eventually the Nuggets pulled away there. We got a big spread now at home for Denver here. Where are you going with this game? Player props, spread, anything, over, under? I didn't see the total right now is, as I mentioned, the Nuggets are about 8.5, 9 point favorites. Wherever
you're right, by the way, it is down to 8.5. It must.
Yeah, I think some money's coming on the Heat, it seems, because we got 8.5. I'm seeing over under at 210. But yeah, where are you going with this one?
Very hard for me to mess with the over under on this, so I'm going to stay away. I do feel like, Servo, that if the Nuggets are going to win tonight, it's not going to be in a 3-point game. I think it's going to be 10 plus. I think that's the way they've been able to beat and limit Miami, because Miami just continues to come back again and again, as I just mentioned. So if I was going to bet this game, you're obviously not betting the money line unless you parlay it. Minus 360, just too rich. However, you could go with the 8.5 for Denver. That's where I'm going tonight, Servo. Now, I will say this. I'm wondering if some of the money is coming on Miami, because we found out about a couple hours ago that Tyler Hero is actually going to play.
Yeah.
Now, this is his first game back, and this guy is a shooter. And it's one thing taking shots that are lightly contested in practice by assistant coaches, whereas now you're talking about adjustments with footwork, adjustments with the shot that he's going to have to make. I don't know if that necessarily moves the needle. That's the thing. I mean, the Heat have either been on as a team or off as a team when it comes to their downtown shooting. I just don't know if Tyler Hero gives them enough to be able to keep this series going.
Yeah, I think that is the reason the people are now like coming in on Miami saying like, all right, Hero's going to be a difference maker here. I really worried how rusty he's going to be and how many minutes he even plays, right? I mean, like how much of a difference maker is he really going to be in this series? I mean, maybe he starts getting hot from three, but I think that's just kind of a prayer for Heat backers.
There's
right?
one thing they can do, Servo, that I just thought of. There's one thing that they can do. They can have Hero and be changing up the offense a little bit. They can have Hero act as more of the point guard of the group, have him be on offense. He's perfectly capable of running this offense, and have Gabe Vincent take a few more shots. I mean, this is someone that he's been involved in a couple of games, and in other games he's been very quiet, but Gabe Vincent is known to be more of a shooter. Maybe you have Hero bring up the ball a little bit more. He's open, he takes his shot, but for the most part, setting up Gabe Vincent might be a better strategy for Miami so they're not relying on the rusty shooter as much.
Okay. So, I mean, on that point, let's see, Gabe Vincent's over under points right now, 9.5 on DraftKings. So if you think maybe he's getting a couple more shots, could be interesting to go the over on that one. And Hero, have you seen any Hero props? Are they out there right now or no?
I am not seeing them right now. I keep looking, but I'm not seeing any Hero props. My guess is what's going to happen, Servo, is if they do end up coming out, they'd be so low, everybody would start taking the over on them.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was going to say. You could take, if what you're saying is he maybe acts as a type of point guard at times, then you can go over on his assist prop. If he's going to be, kind of dishing it to Vincent or Duncan Robinson on these like catch and shoot threes, right? So
yeah, and Vincent, by the way, is at over 1.5 threes at minus 130. And I have not placed that bet, but all of a sudden thinking, how can the Heat maximize Tyler Hero tonight? Because he's good at ball handling. He's a good shooter. But if the shot's rusty, instead of just icing him out completely, this guy can actually have some use tonight.
Yeah. I am with you on the spread. I think the Nuggets do close it out by probably double digits. So I'm glad to take the 8.5 now. Maybe the 9 was a little bit more hesitant, but I like the 8.5, and if I might wait a little bit to see if it even goes down to 8 or 7.5, maybe buy another point there, because I think the Nuggets have their 3 wins this series. They've covered as favorites in all 3. They do have the 1 loss, obviously, in the series to the Heat, but I still think they're going to get it done here. And as you can see on the screen here, I like Nikola Jokic to just go out in style here, cement his NBA Finals MVP here. I love the triple-double, plus 1.5, plus 105 on DraftKings to get to a triple-double here. I mean, he's done it twice. He's gone back and forth. He didn't do it last game, so I think he kind of gets back there here. And does that. So I like basically even money on that and even plus odds on there. And then over 41.5 combined points and rebounds. I love that prop too. It's juiced at like minus 140 on DraftKings, but I still like it. The guy has been, I think his assists are the ones that's been a little up in the air this series. Yeah. But I think he's going to score here. I think he's going to get at least a double-double. So I like the 41.5 number there.
No, and I like that too. I don't mind it. The thing is with the triple-double, the 2 4-assist games that he's had in his last 3 does irk me a little bit, and I missed out on that. And part of it is because, and I got to give some props here to James Grande, our colleague at fantasyalarm.com, who I believe is, by the way, coming up next year on Bettor Sports Network, him talking about Nikola Jokic and his dominance in the middle of the paint. And it just seems like Miami and both oppositions here. So Miami and Denver, both just letting the centers do exactly what they want to do, really focusing on the elbow and the arc when it comes to their defense. And that's the thing with Jokic. If Jokic is going to be open and he's going to get somewhat high percentage shots, which the guy doesn't even need, can make a lot of leaners, then he's going to be shooting more. And we're going to continue to see those assists go down a little bit. That's my one bugaboo I have with the assist. Not that I bet it a few games ago when he got 4 the first time, but the fact is this guy now 4 in 2 of his last 3 games makes me think that when the Nuggets win this game, it's going to be on Jokic's back from a scoring standpoint.
Yeah. And Jokic to get a double-double minus, by the way, is minus 950 on DraftKings. So you can lock in the double-digit rebounds. But I like the at least the points and rebounds, and I'm willing to take a shot at the triple-double for him to just like show everyone like, yeah, I'm that dude. But yeah, any other props you like before we get to some MLB picks?
Yeah, I actually bet this one last time. It was a sweat, but it should have gone over before it became a sweat, and that's Bam Adebayo, over 30.5 points plus rebounds. We've seen him get it done on both categories. The problem is why it becomes so close is because he misses all these easy layups. And it's just so frustrating because with the lack of defense that Denver's playing on this guy continuously, he should be scoring 25 plus every single game. But I think he thinks he anticipates the contact. He anticipates the potential shot blocking from behind. I think he thinks about that a little too much, goes up soft. But tonight, thinking that he's going to go over this 30.5 for him. Something else we got to look at. You want to talk about what Jokic can do from a PRA standpoint. Well, what about Jamal Murray from a double-double? I kind of was shocked that after seeing him get in that 10 assist area as much as we have every single time this series, him for a double-double is at plus 150 on DraftKings, which I think is very doable once again. Now, why isn't it at even money, let's just say? My guess, Servo, some of these other games that you saw him going over that, he just hit 10. Last game, he hit 12. But if anything, Jamal Murray has been excellent at distributing. He's been great at finding his open shot when needed. And one of the reasons why Jokic has been so dominant is he's let Murray do a little bit more of the setting up since he's been able to gain so much of that positioning in the paint with ease. So I'm thinking that's going to be one of my favorites tonight is the Murray double-double plus 150. So those are some of the bets that I have in right now.
Yeah, I like that juice on the double-double because – yeah, you mentioned, I mean, maybe people are thinking, all right, the Heat are going to try to shut down Murray as like the assist guy in this and make him shoot more, which hasn't really gone well either for the Heat there. But, it's going to be interesting to see kind of the Heat's game plan on him and Jokic because it's been going back and forth. We see these big scoring games from Jokic and Murray, and then all of a sudden you got Jokic as a distributor. And last game, he got hurt a little bit. He rolled his ankle, missed time, and his overall stats were down. But I think he bounces back here, and as does Murray. So yeah, I like that. All right, before we bring Adam Ronis on here, let's get to our MLB best bets for tonight. I'll go first real quick, and then I'll let you get yours in. I like the Cincinnati Reds team total over 4.5. Over 4 on FanDuel. But you can get it 4.5. I still like that on DraftKings. This Reds offense has been on fire ever since Ellie De La Cruz came up to the majors and in the lineup over the past 6 games. They've scored or averaging 5.5 runs per game. They've scored 8 or more runs in 3 of those games and at least 4 runs in 5 of those 6. So this team is just clicking right now with De La Cruz right in the middle of it. And I'm not scared of this matchup tonight, even on the road against Zach Greinke for the Royals. He's got a 4.59 ERA this year, even in the higher expected ERA. And opposing teams have been scoring over 4 runs in 7 of his last 11 starts. They're just having success. He's not like a dominant pitcher anymore, obviously. And the Reds are a top 10 offense against right-handed pitching over the past week. They've got some great numbers ever since De La Cruz entered this lineup. 348 WOBA over the past week against righties and a low strikeout rate too, which is, I think that's trouble for Greinke, who's like definitely not a strikeout pitcher right now. So I think the Reds team total, I like it over, not going the full game over or even backing them on the money line. I just think this offense is going to do their thing and just limit it to that.
I like that. No, there you go with the Reds have been doing it right. By the way, Ellie De La Cruz, so exciting to watch, man.
He's electric.
He's just fun. Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen so little of him, but still, man, you could just tell when an athlete is just special when you see them, man. That first game especially was nuts. Then the home run to follow it up. So definitely been lighting it up. I'll tell you that much.
He's already got like 3 stolen bases now, and he's just, you can even look at any of his player props. Like I'm not going that route tonight, but like, yeah, I mean, his like over hits, runs, RBIs has always been hitting lately. So yeah, he's just ignited that Reds offense. I like him tonight. What you got?
I got Zach Eflin over 5.5 strikeouts. Now, I saw it a little bit juiced up on DraftKings, so I went odd shopping a little bit before, and I actually found it on BetMGM at minus 130, which isn't bad. The last I saw it on DraftKings was at minus 145. Now, I know he has been a little bit all over the place when it comes to his strikeouts over his last number of games. However, look at the opponent that he has. He's gone over this before in a previous matchup against Oakland. They are bottom 5 or top 5 when it comes to most strikeouts as a team against righties, specifically top 2 there, or bottom 2, however you want to look at it. So Servo, it's a low number at 5.5. I know it's a little bit juiced up on DraftKings, but that's why you go and look and see where it's at on some of the other books. So I'm thinking that the Rays, and this is going to be a big theme of a decent amount of my bets that I'm going to talk about on this show, thinking the Rays are going to have a big night from all facets. So let's start here and go with Zach Eflin over 5.5 strikeouts.
I like that call. Yeah, we were talking before we went live and just talking about how this slate's a little ugly for pitching wise and just in general, a lot of uncertainty on these matchups. But the Rays are rightfully big favorites over the A's there, and F1 should really do his thing. He's been awesome to watch this year. And by the way, so that F1 call, a part of Justin Vreeland's MLB DFS playbook, one of his top plays. So right in lock with you. If he gets that over strikeouts, he'll be a great DFS play for sure. And by the way, you can check out all the, as always, go to Fantasy Alarm to get that MLB DFS playbook and all DFS sports using that all-pro package, award-winning DFS playbooks, and all of our DFS tools. You can use Alarm50 as that promo code for 50% off the first 6 months and a free trial to start there. So you can get the MLB DFS playbook that's now live for tonight. James Grande will have his NBA Finals DFS playbook for tonight's showdown slate. We got, PGA this week. The U.S. Open is coming up this weekend. So we'll have Drew Phelps on the PGA DFS playbook as he does every week and every sport. So we got you covered. So yeah, Alarm 50 is that promo code there. And speaking of NBA, let's get back to our NBA here. Let's bring on Adam Ronis, one of the Fantasy Alarms NBA guys. It's him and Fensty killing it all season long. And now we got them together. I know you guys are co-hosts and all that, but it's good to have you both here on the Bettor Sports Betting Show. What's up, Ronis?
What's going on, man? Good to be back here again. I didn't know Justin was going to be here. If I had known that, I would have turned down the invitation.
Surprise!
I'm just going to back out and let you two guys fight it out.
Nah, I want to fight with you too.
All right. Well, let's see if we disagree on tonight, because me and Fensty are both just giving out our picks. We're both on the Nuggets, thinking that they can cover this spread 8.5 now. And both on, different props here, Jokic and Murray. What is your kind of initial leans for tonight and vibes for the game? And then we can get into some of your picks too.
Yeah, I find it difficult to back Miami here. I know some people will think, well, this is a team that's battled all year long. They're not going to give up and they can keep it close, but it's just a big mismatch here for Miami. They were fortunate to get Boston in the previous round where they had the better coach, and Boston had more talent, but they didn't play to that level. I think Denver is just a different team. It's a tough matchup, and Eric Spoelstra is a great coach, but I think he's kind of run out of answers here. I think the only way Miami can win this game or stay competitive, they have to shoot lights out from 3-point range, and that's been a problem in this series. I think Game 2 they did well when they won. That was the only game that they've been over 100 points in this series. They've had 95 points or fewer in 3 of 4, man. So it's just really difficult right now. Miami just can't generate offense. I don't think Jimmy Butler is healthy. I think that ankle is bothering him. We've seen at times he's just not aggressive. Bam Adebayo has played well, but he's not a guy that wants to score. He's more of a guy that facilitates the offense. They're forcing him to score, and he's done a good job, but he is missing a lot of easy shots, and it's not his fault, man. He's playing 40-plus minutes, and he has to defend Jokic, so he's put in a tough spot. And the players that have led Miami here, they're just not getting it done. Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, they just have not been able to be productive in this series. And it's a tough spot here. And usually in these closeout spots, you see the home team get it done. So it's hard to back Miami in this spot. The only way they're going to do it, they're going to have to shoot 45 to 50% from three-point range. We've seen them do it numerous times in the playoffs, but we haven't seen them do it against Denver. It's just a big mismatch here. They have no way of slowing down Jokic. I mean, even last game, Jokic had 5 fouls, and you're like, oh, here we go. And what happened? Jamal Murray took over. Murray has been phenomenal in this series, even though he didn't shoot well in the last game. 12 assists, no turnovers. Aaron Gordon has come up big. I mean, really, Michael Porter's obviously been a big disappointment in this series, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope hasn't been as good, but it hasn't mattered for Denver. They've just had answers, and I think the best thing that happened at Denver was Game 2. Maybe I don't know if they took Miami lightly. I don't think they did because Miami has this whole track record, but maybe they slowed down a little bit. And Mike Malone said, hey, we've seen Miami do this before. You guys better wake up. This is the NBA Finals. There's no time to mess around. And they've responded in a big way in the last 2 games. So I just find it really difficult to back Miami here. I just think they've run out of gas.
Ro, let me ask you this, man, because I was pretty shocked when I was looking at some of the bets and the odds. Jamal Murray's double-double. I don't know if you saw this, plus 150 on DraftKings. And he's done this now 4 straight games, every game this series. I know that he just made it when it came to the assists in the last few prior to game number 4. But let me ask you, man, is that very appealing to you? Because it is to me tonight, especially as I was talking with Servo about Jokic just completely destroys the paint. Murray's going to be feeding him a good amount. I don't see anything differently really happening tonight. And I put a little wager on Murray double-double plus 150.
The risk is if they blow them out and they're sitting in the fourth quarter, because he has had to get those assists late. I've been writing his assist prop. It was 6.5 in the first 3 games. It was 7.5 in game 4. I still played it. It's 8.5 now. I might play the over. I'm not sure yet. I think he had 18 potential assists last game. I mean, he's averaging about 18, 19 potential assists per game. They tried to double team him last game. It didn't work. I think he had 5 assists to Jokic alone in the last game. So he's going to get a lot of easy assists to Jokic. We know that. And if somehow Porter and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope start hitting shots, then it seems like an easy over. That's my one concern, is that I could see this game being 15 points in the fourth quarter and they pull the starters. That's the only risk here. He's played 43 minutes in 3 to 4 games. He's going to be on the floor a lot. The ball's been in his hands consistently. So he could get 9 assists, then you fall short. So yes, he's done it every game, but that's just not how it works. And it's, he's had 10 assists in each of the first 3 games. So, and the thing with the assists too, it is dependent on guys knocking down shots. So it helps to have Jokic, but if Porter keeps bricking from 3, it could hurt a little bit. So, I mean, it's nice plus money, but I don't feel great about it.
I got to play a little devil's advocate here, because I was just thinking about the game 2 that the Nuggets blew, right, in the fourth quarter. I mean, do you think if the Nuggets are up 10-15 in the fourth quarter that they're just going to leave Murray and Jokic in to make sure they lock down the win and lock down the series? I mean, that was just kind of the back of my mind right now, because when we were talking earlier about them kind of taking their foot off the gas there. Is there a chance they just let, they leave Murray and Jokic in deep into the fourth quarter and maybe the blowout doesn't really come into play?
I could, but I mean, if they're up like 20 with 4 minutes to go, they'll probably pull them. And,
that's true.
He could be sitting on 9 assists. So, again, I think a lot of people say, oh, Miami's not going to quit. Their backs are against the wall. Okay, their backs were against the wall last game at home, and they didn't do well. I just think Miami has no answers at this point. And the only way it's going to happen, they're going to have to shoot lights out from 3. And if that is the game plan, and then they are taking a lot of shots from 3, and they keep missing, that deficit could really balloon up, and Denver could run away with this game.
Ronis, what are some of the props that you're looking at for tonight's game?
I like Aaron Gordon over 9.5 rebounds plus assists. He's been really good in this series. The last 2 games, he had 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. So I think the rebounds are a pretty good bet. Let me see. Is it 6.5 on his rebounds? Because that's not a bad bet either. He's been going over that. It is 6.5. Yeah, that might be a little bit better, but he's been dishing to 11 assists the last 2 games. He's had 7 rebounds in 3 straight. We know the size advantage, and his minutes have gone up because he's played so well. He played 42 minutes last game. The last 2 games from him have been amazing, and game 4 was amazing. So I like that. I like Kevin Love over 1.5 threes. I know he doesn't play big minutes, but when he is out there, he is shooting threes. I think with Miami, though, I'm kind of backing off a little bit on some of these props. I want to see if Tyler Hero does indeed play. Does he start? Because Caleb Martin's been good, but the one concern I have with him is he apparently had some migraines from playing in the altitude. That's why he wasn't great in games 1 and 2. He's been better the last 2 games. So I'm considering his props. I kind of want to play Jimmy Butler unders, man. I know it's scary, but this guy has just not been – I don't think he's healthy, man. I really don't. This is not the Jimmy Butler that we have seen in the postseason. He's not been aggressive at times. It's scary because it is, season on the line. He could come out and have a big game, but I've seen 40.5 PRAs. His points total is 27.5. He's gone over that once in this series, and even last series, he didn't have big games. He had 1 30-point game. Is it possible he has the Butler eruption game? Sure, but why haven't we seen it? Again, are we going to wait till 3-1? I guess there's a chance he plays every minute like we've seen in the past. He played 45 minutes the last game. He's not getting to the free throw line as much. So I'm just a little worried about him. But it is scary betting on his unders because we know he's capable of blowing up. And then, again, you could look at Jamal Murray's assists if you want, 8.5. It is a high number. He has eclipsed it in all four games. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope over 1.5 threes I'm considering. It's a closeout game. He's at home. I know he's kind of been up and down in this series. Last game was the first one that he went over 1.5 threes. We saw he had a great series against the Lakers, but the minutes are still there for him. He's played 36 minutes in 3 of the 4 games. And at home, I could see him, hitting 2 threes.
You mentioned Tyler Hero back. We were talking about this earlier, and Fensty was saying, the Heat might try to use him more as a in the point role, and not as just like a catch and shoot guy. Maybe try to get more shots for guys like Duncan Robinson or Gabe Vincent. Maybe try to get Strus hot, that kind of thing. With Hero on the floor there, how do you see the Heat using him? And does that factor into some of the props you're looking at, thinking like, all right, maybe the Nuggets have to go a little bit smaller to match up, or vice versa?
Nah, I think Denver's going to play their game. I don't think it's going to matter. They've been crushing it. There's no need for them to make any adjustments at all at this point. I mean, it's a wild card with Hero because he's still feeling pain, was the last report. So does he go out there and it hurts too much and he can't play? I mean, so that it's a wild card right now. Yeah. I think you have to be careful when you're betting Heat props with a lot of these guys, Matt Strus and Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent, because like Strus, I was considering his unders. I mean, he's been terrible in this series, and his minutes could drastically be cut if Hero is active.
Yeah.
I was kind of looking at Kyle Lowry earlier. Now I'm a little worried about that. So, yeah, it's a wild card. I mean, I think Hero's points prop, I think it's 7.5. I mean, you can take a shot and play the over on that. Actually, 5.5. I see on BetMGM. Wow. 6.5 on FanDuel.
Right? Didn't I tell you, Servo? It's going to be something that low. And
I was looking at DraftKings and they don't have it yet, but I guess so. It is 5.5.
I'm seeing 5.5 BetMGM, 6.5 on FanDuel. So I mean, look, he hits 2 threes, and we know he's taking threes. So
right.
What's his assist prop at? If you could look,
1.5 on BetMGM. I mean.
I'm coming up ways before Ronis, before you joined us. I was coming up with ways like, let's just say the shot's not on, but he could still do other things, maybe be some kind of decoy and set up Gabe Vincent a little bit more from downtown, who is a spark shooter. So maybe
I think if there's pain in the hand, he's coming out. Like you can't afford to risk it at this point. I mean, your season's on the line, and again, they're gonna have to shoot the 3 well. That's kind of the only way they're winning. They have no other way to win, man. I mean, we've seen it. Just like a lot of their success in the postseason is shooting lights out from 3-point range, which is why everyone is surprised at this run, because they were one of the worst teams from 3-point range in the regular season, and they've been lights out in the postseason. I know they had a lot of injuries and everything, but that's the only way they're going to win here because they have not shown the ability to slow down Denver. I mean, even Denver, some of their bad games, they're still scoring 108, 109 points. So I just don't see them having an answer for Denver. I mean, I don't see Denver coming out and scoring 90 points, 95 points, right? So Miami's got to find a way to get 105, 110 to win. And the only way that's going to get done is if they shoot lights out from 3-point range.
Yeah, on that point, I was just going to ask you about the Heat's team total because you were talking earlier about on all three of their losses, they haven't eclipsed 100 points. And the only game they did, they got hot from three late and they got over 100 there. But their team total is at 100.5 over on DraftKings right now, minus 120 to the under, minus 110 to the over. I'd be looking at the under there, right? I mean, if this kind of goes as we've seen 3 out of these 4 games, unless the Heat start getting hot from 3, that under 100.5 looks pretty tasty.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good number, so I don't really see much of an edge there. Again, if they in game 2 was in Denver, they did shoot 48.6% from the field, 17 for 35. Yeah. So it's certainly possible. It's unlikely. But I mean, I lean towards the under, but I don't really have a strong stance to play it.
We're going to play a game now, Ronis. I know how much you like games. So we're going to play a game called Pick Your Boost. So you could pick the FanDuel boost, the DraftKings boost, or you could say neither if you really don't like either one. The DraftKings boost.
What about both?
Or both if you really want to get frisky. And I know Ronis likes to get frisky.
I do. Yeah.
It's not with me. Don't get any wrong ideas. Jokic, 25 points, plus Jamal Murray, at least 2 threes at plus 100. And then I don't know what the odds are on the FanDuel one, but our producer, Heavy T, Tyler Soto, was saying before, Murray and Jokic to combine for 50 points. So what do you like better, them combining for 50 or Jokic 25 or more plus Jamal Murray hitting at least 2 threes?
I probably prefer the one with Jokic 25 and Jamal Murray 2 threes, but man, these boosts have been failing big time. So I am not touching them.
This is how they get you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, a lot of them throughout the year were pretty good. There was a good hit rate, but I don't know. In the postseason, it's been absolutely horrendous. I haven't played a boost in a while. So, I mean, Murray's hit at least 2 threes in every game in this series. So I'm pretty confident in that. I mean, Jokic, I actually had a parlay last game. It was not the only leg I lost, so I wasn't upset. But I had Jokic to score 25. Of course, he scored 23 because he had foul trouble. He had 5 fouls. He's actually had 5 fouls in each of the last 2 games, but it didn't really cost him minutes in game 3. He played 44 minutes, but we did see him sit an extended period there in game 4. So, and again, that was the opportunity for Miami to win the game. It's like, oh, here we go. Scott Forster trying to extend it. Jokic is out, and it didn't matter. So Jokic has at least 27 in the other 3 games. So I'm pretty confident that Jokic should get 25. I mean, he should get to the free throw line a little bit. He's averaging 20 shots from the field. He's getting high percentage looks. So that one I feel better about. The 50, yeah, I mean, yeah, on paper it looks good, and Murray's back home, but I probably feel better about the Jokic 25 and the Jamal Murray 2 threes, but I'm probably not playing either, man. They're trying to sucker us in, those clowns.
The only way they work, guys, it seems like if it's like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to combine for 9 3-pointers in a fast-paced game. That's the only time these things seem to work.
Well, I was thinking about the Murray Jokic one. We honestly could see Jokic just go off for 50 on his own, right?
Yeah, it's possible.
That's in the cards, right?
Yeah, I think that. Well, if you think that, then all right. So you're locking him in for 25. You need Jamal Murray to hit 2 threes. He's done it in every game. So right. And he's been phenomenal. I mean, I think the diehard fans who follow the NBA realize how good this guy is. It's nice that he's getting the recognition on the national stage, and for the casual fans, because Murray had this type of postseason in the bubble, man. He was lights out, then got hurt toward the ACL, but he has been great in this series. I know, he only scored 15 last game, but you saw they were doubling him a lot. And with Jokic out with foul trouble, he stepped up. I mean, 12 assists and no turnovers in a postseason game is just insane. So He's been great. He had a bad game too. He responded in game 3 with a triple-double. So I'm happy for Jamal Murray. He deserves this, man.
He does for sure.
I remember when we had you on before this series started, and I think it was James Grande with me, and he threw out the possibility of betting on Jamal Murray to be the MVP of the series, and you were saying he just had a great series, and Jokic was still going to be the MVP, and I feel like that's happening in this series where Murray has had a great series, but Jokic I think he's like minus 5,000 to win the NBA Finals MVP. So it's just unfortunately for him, he's just a step lower in people's eyes. I think the whole Jokic versus Embiid storyline too is probably playing a part where people are like, yeah, we want Jokic to win this Finals MVP.
Well, they messed up. They gave the MVP to the wrong guy.
No, I mean, look, you could say, Jokic is clearly the better player, but you can't really argue against Embiid getting MVP. It's not like he didn't have a great year.
Yeah.
Jokic is clearly the better player. That's a different argument than who deserves the award. But yeah, I mean, the point is, I think people are always looking for these dark horses. And if you look at the history of the NBA Finals, it's always the star player. Yeah, Andre Iguodala won it one year with Golden State. But if you look at pretty much the last 15 years, it's always the star player. They have to have an awful series. And Jokic is averaging 30.8, 13.5 rebounds, 8 assists. And yeah, Jamal Murray, you could have made a case for him against the Lakers. Now, it was only 4 games, but he averaged 32.5 points, 6.3 rebounds, 5.3 assists, shot 52.7% from the field, 40.5% from three-point range, averaged 1.8 turnovers per game. And he didn't win MVP. So how much better could he get? So yeah, I get it. You guys all want the long shots. Oh, it's worth the shot. I mean, the percentage of it happening was very slim. The only way Jamal Murray gets it is if maybe he scores 40, 45 tonight. Jokic has a support game. Even then, he probably doesn't get it, right? I mean, Jokic has done so much in this series. Or if Murray puts up 40 tonight, Jokic is subpar, they lose, then it goes to a game 6. Murray puts up 40 again. Jokic has a average game. It's maybe, but it's just not worth it in these bet MVP markets for the finals. The star player usually always wins the MVP.
Yeah. Well, Ronis, appreciate you joining us here. Before we let you go, you got any MLB picks for tonight, or you're just rolling NBA hard tonight?
Tyler Anderson over 1.5 walks. I think he's done it like 9 of 10 games. Okay. And he doesn't strike out a lot of guys. Throws a lot of pitches in the strike zone, and Texas is a pretty good lineup there. So, he's going to try and nibble and pitch around. I think he faced them earlier this year, walked 3. But yeah, Tyler Anderson over 1.5 walks. It was minus 135 on Caesars earlier. My guess is it's probably juiced up a little bit now.
Yeah, I can back that. Yeah, I think a couple of our picks coming up, me and Fency are both backing some Rangers. So I think we can get behind that, fading Tyler Anderson tonight. You could follow Adam Ronis on Twitter at Adam Ronis, and he gives out his Ronis bonus plays over there on TikTok and tweets them out as well. So he's got some MLB picks all season for you. And he's been killing it for NBA, for Fantasy Alarm, co-host with Fensty on the Bettor Cast on Sirius XM as well. So definitely check that out. But Ronis, thanks for coming on here, talking some hoops with us.
All right, no problem, man. Enjoy the games tonight.
Yeah, yes, gonna be fun. Take care.
Sir. I'll get to hang with Ronis during the game a little bit. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, are you guys live tonight? I didn't know for sure.
Yep, okay. We'll be live tonight,
awesome.
And with the game starting at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we're on 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And so for anyone, and I always say this, Servo, I mean, look, you hit some of your bets, man. Come on, water's warm. You can call in. You can scream it out and shout. Take your victory lap. We want victory laps on Fantasy Alarm Bettor Cast.
Yeah, I'll keep the guest appearance short if I have a beverage or two, but
No, please go longer in that regard.
But yeah, definitely check Fensty and Ronis out on the Bettor Cast show, because that's awesome. You guys are you throwing out live bets during the game, or are you just kind of letting your pregame ones ride?
No, we take a look at the live lines too.
Yeah.
You know where it's easiest to kind of categorize and to figure hockey. That's where it is. So tonight, obviously not going to happen, but when we're looking at, yes, exactly. So it's easier to start prognosticating when you've got the intermissions and everything to kind of feel it out a little bit. With the NBA, it's like, you got halftime. First quarter ends, you got to figure something out there. So when we're looking at the live betting for NBA, it's like we'll look at around halftime, whether or not if it's a team's getting destroyed, whether or not they can cover a massive spread or anything. It's very tricky, especially when you've got a team like Miami that just fights and fights and fights and doesn't pack it in, except for maybe a couple of games ago when with 2 minutes to go, down by 13, they decide to pull their starters, which I don't get. I mean, have they not seen Duke, Maryland back in the day? There wasn't like Duke down by 13 with a minute to go. They came back.
Yeah, they came back.
Maryland guy?
I am a Maryland guy, but yeah, I was thankfully I was not a fan of the team yet. I was still not, as a Jersey kid, I was not paying attention to Maryland basketball yet. But I have Maryland friends that have told me about that. It's like one of the, obviously to Duke, it's a tough loss already, but just one of those tough losses it's hard to forget about. So
sure.
But yeah, live betting is, and for baseball, by the way, live betting is just wild because you can get like run lines at crazy odds. If like the bases are loaded, but then all of a sudden the guy gets out of a jam and the run line changes in the half inning in between at bats there. So yeah, the MLB live betting gets a little interesting. On that note, let's switch gears here. Go to the diamond. Any other picks you got for tonight? I know we both got a couple on these Rangers, but I think you got another game you're high on.
I mean, I'll say this with the Rays, I'm thinking they're going to be scoring some runs tonight.
Yeah.
I was looking at their team total before. It's at 5.5, minus 105. I mean, they're facing Caprillion at this point there, and they're going to be able to tee off of him. They did before. I know that their previous start against him was right at the beginning of the season, but still surrendered 7 earned against them. So I'm thinking tonight, and I'm not betting it in the first 5 innings, so I'm going to give Tampa a shot to take away from the A's bullpen a little bit as well. So team total I'm seeing at 5.5. I feel like that's very forgiving. If you look, though, at their last number of matchups when they've won, they've been kind of hot and cold with that. I'm thinking tonight in this matchup, and I know Oakland's been better, I'm thinking tonight's a come-down-to-earth moment for Oakland, if you could even say that about them, and they're going over the Rays 5.5 runs for their team total.
Yeah, the Oakland comes into this game with, I think they're running a 4 or 5 game winning streak, and I see that ending, and I'm telling you 5 games. Our producer says to us, 5 game win streak for Oakland. This is ending tonight. They're facing the Rays. They've gotten squeaked by like a mediocre Milwaukee team. I think that the Rays are going to end this tonight, and so I like your team total, and I'm hoping it comes through because I'm backing the Rays and the Red Sox money line parlay. Got it at minus 104 on DraftKings because both their money lines are minus 250 or higher. So I like just putting them in a parlay because I like the Rays to come through here with Eflin on the mound, as you mentioned. You like his strikeouts prop.
You do that often? Take 2 heavy favorites like that?
Yeah, I've been starting to do it because like you can go with either team's run line, minus 1.5 in either direction, but sometimes it's just I like just banking on the win because how often do you see one run wins in the end?
Sure.
Especially if it goes to extra innings and you just get a 1-run win. But yeah, I like doing the money line parlays for just 2 heavy favorites, and not going excessive with like 3 or 4 teams there. But I like just locking in 2. And tonight it works because we got some tight matchups elsewhere, but the Red Sox and Rays are both kind of the big favorites tonight. And on the Red Sox side of things, I think they get it done against a Rockies team that's terrible on the road. And I like kind of going right off of that. I like James Paxton to have a good night on the mound. I like his over strikeouts. It's at 7.5, which is, a little risky, but he's been over this in 3 of his 5 starts this year. I wrote up Paxton for the underdog picks over at Fantasy Alarm. Free article there if you want to check that out, and another play that I'm leaning on. But Paxton's over strikeouts here. The Rockies offense, as I mentioned, terrible on the road, terrible against left-handed pitching over the last 2 weeks. League worst 33% strikeout rate to go along with a 191 batting average, a very low WOBA. And over the whole season, they're struggling against lefties, a bottom 5 offense in terms of strikeout rate, WOBA, batting average against lefty pitching. And I mentioned just terrible on the road compared to at home at Coors. So I like targeting them with pitchers on the road for the Rockies. And Paxton here, he's been strong more often than not, taking advantage of some shaky offenses that he's faced. And I said he's over three or five starts. He's been over 7.5 strikeouts. So I think he anchors the Red Sox here in that parlay with the Rays Red Sox.
The thing is with him, he just has to last. That's the big thing. He can't just have one of the 5-inning games. You got to have him go into 6 or 7. That's the thing, sir. I was talking with you about it before. I have such a tough time betting over 7.5. In the right matchup, it's the right matchup. I start to worry a little bit more about that longevity factor, though, with him. A minor concern, but look at his last couple of starts. I mean, 8 and 9 Ks?
Yeah.
Pretty good lines right there. So I'm with you on that front, man. Let me ask you, how often, though, do you bet outs props, like recorded outs for pitching?
Yeah, I like looking at those because there's definitely some ways to exploit that. Mentioned parlays. I like doing parlays with some of the ones that are juiced, like especially if it's a pitcher at 18.5 outs, but it's juiced very much to the under because it's basically locked in that he's going to pitch 6 innings and out, or vice versa. If he's going to be over 16.5 outs, thinking that like, all right, he can get to 16, he can get to 6 innings, then I like kind of putting them together. But the ones that are kind of right in the middle range, and I see one that you got for us here, are very interesting, where you can definitely, if you just look at some trends, you can exploit that.
Yeah, and that's where Jesus Luzardo, who's been pretty good for the most part. I mean, when you're looking at the strikeouts and you're looking at the longevity, I mean, that's something that's very concerning here. But the Mariners, I'll say this, Mariners haven't been that great. And when you're looking at the strikeouts, especially, just not good. Even average over the last few weeks, not good. So I'm thinking tonight for Luzardo, because, I mean, when you're looking at outs props, I look a lot at 17.5. I mean, try to stay away from the 7th inning ones, but 17.5 outs at -105. I think that he can last. I think that he could go over this number. Seattle, when it comes to their lineup, like I said, not very threatening. They strike out a lot too. And his strikeout prop I saw at 7.5. But I'm looking at the outs. I'm a little bit more comfortable. Just has to last to the 6th inning. Through the 6th inning.
And that's one where if you look at the strikeouts, as you mentioned, 7.5, where you're kind of right on the edge of that, but you can kind of pivot to the outs, thinking that he could still have a strong outing. Maybe the strikeouts aren't totally there for him. Like if he's 7.5 prop, if he gets to 7 strikeouts, you aren't bummed. But if he throws 6 strong innings, then he can get there. So yeah, I like that one for him. And yeah, the Mariners offense has been, they had a couple good games like against the Angels, but I don't think that they're fully back to being like a really dangerous offense. And I like them. That game total, by the way, I think it's at 7.5, which is, it's low for like Luzardo versus Bryce Miller matchup. So I think Luzardo is going to do a lot to keep that one low scoring and probably go 6 strong. So yeah, good call on that. I'll go to the Rangers team total over 5 on FanDuel. This is a play that's in Howard Bender's Best Bets article as well. So we are both locked in on that. And if you haven't checked already, go to his Best Bets article. MLB, the All Pro package is included with the Best Bets there. So get Alarm 50 for that. But the Rangers team total, I love it here. They're facing, sorry, I'm just pulling it up here. They're facing Tyler Anderson, as we were talking about earlier with Ronis. Anderson just 5.62 ERA, not great, 160 WHIP. And the Rangers offense, I mean, they have the best home offense this season, averaging 6.7 runs per game. The top scoring offense overall this year in general. And against lefties, they're hammering lefties over the past 2 weeks with a 356 WOBA. Top tier offense against lefties all season long. I don't see Tyler Anderson having success here on the road against the Rangers. So I like their team total over 5, over 5.5 if you're looking on DraftKings. Anderson's allowed 10 total runs over his last 2 starts combined, allowed 6 and allowed 4. So I think the Rangers can do damage against him, maybe even push across a couple against the bullpen. But the Rangers team total over 5 here is a good play.
Man, and that's the thing. Before, when we were thinking about our home run hitters, I kept thinking about which Ranger would be good for this. I kept going through some of the hitters in that regard, and I know that James Grande puts up the graphic every single day regarding who's hitting their home runs, and I'm seeing a few Josh Young options as well. So that's something to think about.
He was a guy I looked to for possible player props tonight, and him and. Go check out the Underdog article because I have a player from the Rangers, not Jung or anybody else, but someone that's a big name, Corey Seager. But go check out which prop I like for him in that game. But yeah,
what a tease!
It's a free article. Go check it out. And if it doesn't hit, then don't come back and blame me. But any other picks you got before we get to our home run calls, as you mentioned?
You know what? I'll save it for the home run call because it's going to lockstep with that. So should I just go to the home run call here?
Yeah. What you got?
Man, so look, I've been talking a lot of Rays here. Corey Seager, by the way, was the finalist of this prop for today. So instead, for some reason, I wasn't sure if he was going to be in the lineup or not. So I kind of was like holding back. Okay. But instead, I ended up going with Josh Lowe, who I also like, by the way, over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs as well. That's at -135. I'm thinking he's going yard. Very fantastic hitter. Caprillion, not a fantastic pitcher. Looking for someone from this Rays team, and I'm going low for Josh Lowe.
Going low. Love it, man. Yeah, that him, Seager, I was looking at Semien props. Josh Young, definitely an option. By the way, we got a comment here, and you can always get your comments in on any bets you like. We got looking ahead for a full week's bet, over under 3.5 losses this week for the Mets. And what do you know? We got a Mets fan here on the show here, Justin. What do you think about this? As I pull up their schedule,
I'm looking at it right now.
The Mets have been struggling, so this is a legit question. If there's a way to bet this, I don't know if there is. If you can bet how many losses in a week, but
that's a high line too. 3.5. Dang.
What do you think about that? Looking at their schedule,
I mean, imagine if the Cardinals were like halfway decent. How much worse this would be. You're talking about 2 games against the Yankees, the 3 against the Astros, and so it would be 2 Yankees games, 3 Cardinals games, and then it would be essentially 2. Yeah, so I'm actually going to go with 3.5 losses. I'm actually going to take the under. That's too high of a line, I think.
Okay.
Although it's the Mets, so they'll probably lose every single game because that's what they do.
We'll check back in this time next week and see if it was over under 3.5.
Don't be surprised. I mean, they can face whoever they want. I mean, look at what they just did against the Pirates.
That's I'm right on the comment there. Also asking about Luke Voit in the Mets system there.
Do they just sign? Is this Nick Durst? This sounds like Nick Durst up here, by the way.
It might be. Yeah, I didn't even realize 2 hours ago.
It's definitely Durst.
The Mets signed Luke Voit to a minor league deal today. Huh?
Yes. So, I mean, will he be called up by the end of the week? Well, let's see. What day is it now? Monday?
They just lost Alonso, so they needed some kind of power option, and then now they got Voit. So maybe he'll be a home run call next week.
By the way, speaking of free content on fantasyalarm.com, I did update the MLB injuries a little bit earlier. So a lot of big bats that are hurting right now. So go on fantasyalarm.com and check out the latest MLB injuries, and that will be updated as it is twice a week towards the end of the week as well for all of you.
Yeah, Fence does an awesome job with that. As you mentioned, twice a week, giving us all the MLB injuries. And there was actually an injury in there today that had me even pushing more towards Paxton and the Red Sox because Charlie Blackmon is out. He hits the IL. And I saw that in your updates today. And I was like, this Rockies offense
man. Weird situation.
Is it? What's up with that?
Because he got hit in the hand at this point about 9-10 days ago. And he tried to play through it. And the tests weren't showing that the hand was fractured. And he's trying to play through it. And then they gave him more tests. And now there's a fractured hand. I mean, if he's in pain, maybe the guy should just rest and not play then. I mean, just because tests don't indicate that there's true damage done to the body part doesn't mean that the player's in pain. Just bench him.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm looking at the Rockies lineup, so that makes the Rockies lineup even worse. They got, they got they got guys like Brenton Doyle starting in center field now for the Rockies. So I'm happy to back the Red Sox and Paxton against that one. My home run call tonight, Kyle Schwarber. There was a time where Fensty once told me that I looked like Kyle Schwarber. When I had if I rocked my chin hair more and I had a tighter cut.
You had a crazy soul patch going, man, and you looked exactly like Schwarber.
So
and the way you reacted to me was just like, no, I don't. And I'm like, yes, you do.
I think because at that point in my mind, Schwarber was this chunky dude that all he did was hit home runs or strike out. And so tonight, in honor of you, I'm hoping he hits a home run and comes through. He's facing Tommy Henry for the Diamondbacks. Tommy Henry has given up multiple home runs in 3 of his last 4 starts, and Schwarber's been on a roll. He's got 4 homers this month already. 4 homers in the last 7 games, and on the road against the lefty seems tough, but he's got 10 of his 17 homers on the road this year and 8 of his 17 against lefties. So I think he'd come through tonight again and go deep.
For your fills right there.
For my fills too, yeah.
Yes, there you go.
I'll be happy. I'm staying away from their money line or anything, but if he goes deep, I'll be happy.
God only knows with the pitching what's going to happen there because they're starting an opener and they're going to be using the pen. Yeah,
it's a bullpen game, and not too excited about that. So, but it's interesting that they've become, I think it's like minus 110 on the money line. So it's not like they're big underdogs or anything, even with the bullpen game. So that one could go either way. As we wrap up here, Fensty, it's been awesome. You'll be back with me on Wednesday, right, to give out some more picks. We'll have some day baseball to kind of react live to, maybe throw out some live bets. So that'll be fun. And tonight we got some picks going for the NBA Finals. So we'll see what happens here. See if the Heat can extend it another game, and we'll have another Game 6 to talk about, or if we just kind of shift gears into draft talk, right? So, but yeah, it's been fun, Fensty. Appreciate you joining me here.
Servo, it's been a pleasure, man. And thanks again for having me, man.
Yeah, and we'll be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern, as always, the Bettor Sports Betting Show here with John and Pemba with me tomorrow. But I appreciate you guys all joining in and watching in, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good luck.